We have sad news in the world of entertainment. The controversial, um, the controversial porn peddler Larry Flynn has died, and he was one of my idols. He built a small empire with starting with Hustler magazine. He reportedly died Wednesday. He was 78. Um, Flynt, who was paralyzed from the waist down in the 1978 murder attempt, and he succumbed to heart failure in Los Angeles on Wednesday morning. He was known for many legal battles involving free speech and pornography regulations. He often clashed with the religious cult, with the religious right, and was once sued by the televangelist Jerry Falwell in a case that made it to the Supreme Court. I know exactly what they're talking about there on that one. Flynt was portrayed by Woody Harrelson in the Oscar-nominated 1996 film *The People vs. Larry Flynt*, which chronicled the pornographer's life, including his court clash with Falwell and other people. He was married. I know he was married at least a couple different times. I'm trying to get this to load back up. Hold on. That fucking thing's taking too damn long to load this damn thing. Let's try this again. Uh-huh. He was also president of the Larry Flynt Publications, which is also known as LFP. LFP basically mainly produced magazines such as Hustler, pornographic videos, and 3 pornographic television channels named Hustler TV. But Flynt has been was involved in several different high-profile legal battles involving the First Amendment and has unsuccessfully run for public office. Basically, he was paralyzed from the waist down due to injuries sustained in the 1978 murder attempt by a serial killer named Joseph Franklin. In 2003, the Random magazine listed him at number 1 on the 50th most powerful people in porn business. He was married 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. He had 5 kids. One of them ended up dying, and I remember hearing about that. The longest marriage was the last 2 wives that he had. He was married to a woman named Mary for 4 years. Then his second wife was Peggy for 3. And then he married this woman, Kathy. They divorced after 5 years of marriage. He married his wife, Althea, in 1976, and they remained married until her death. And then he married his last wife, Elizabeth, in 1998, which is the longest marriage he had, and they remained married until Larry Flynt's death. He was born in Kentucky. The first of 3 children to Larry Claxton Flynt, his father, Larry Claxton, was born in 1919, died in 2005. The mother was born in 1925, she died in 1982. Basically, in 1965, Larry Flynt basically took $1,000 from his savings and bought his mother's bar in Dayton, Ohio, called the Kiwi. He refitted it and was soon making $1,000 a week. And he used the profits to buy 2 bars. He worked as many as 20 hours a day. and he was working 20 hours a day, taking crystal meth to stay awake. He frequently had to break up fistfights between drunken customers. Flynt decided to open a new, higher-class bar, which would also be the first in the area to feature nude hostess dancers. He named it the Hustler Club, and from '68 onward, with the help of his brother Jimmy and later his girlfriend Althea, he opened Hustler Clubs in Akron, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Toledo, Ohio. Basically, each club grossed between $260,000 to $520,000 a year. He also acquired the Dayton franchise of a small newspaper called Batcher's Beat, which he published for 2 years before selling it at the same time. He closed a money-losing vending machine business. He started the Hustler magazine in 1972. Flynt created the Hustler newsletter, which at the time it was a 2-page black and white publication about his clubs. The item became so popular with his customers that he expanded the Hustler newsletter to 16 pages, and then in 1973 he upped it to 32. As a result of the 1973 oil crisis, the American economy entered recession, revenues of Hustler clubs declined, and Flynt had to refinance his debts or declare bankruptcy. He decided to turn the newsletter Hustler magazine into a sexually explicit magazine with natural distribution. He paid the startup cost of the new magazine by deferring payment of the sale taxes his clubs owed on their activities. In July of 1974, the first issue of Hustler was published, although the first few issues were largely unnoticed. Within a year, the magazine became highly lucrative, and Flynt was able to pay his tax debts. Flynt's friend Al Goldstein said that Hustler took its inspiration from his own tabloid called Screw, but credited him with accomplishing what he had not created a national publication. In 1974, Hustler showed the first pink shots or photos of open vulvas. Flynt had to fight to publish each issue, as many people, including some at his distribution company, found the magazine too explicit and threatened to remove it from the market. Shortly thereafter, Flynt was approached by paparazzi who had taken pictures of the former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis while she was sunbathing naked on a vacation in 1971. He purchased them for $18,000 and published them in the August 1975 issue. That issue attracted widespread attention, and 1 million copies were sold within a few days. Now a millionaire, Flynt was able to buy a $375,000 mansion. On March 6, 1978, during a legal battle related to obscenity in Gwinnett County, Georgia, Flynt and his local lawyer Gene Reeves were returning to the Gwinnett County Courthouse when they were shot on the sidewalk in front of 136 South Perry Street in Lawrenceville by a gunman standing near an alley across the street. The shooting left Flynt paralyzed with permanent spinal cord damage and in need of a wheelchair. Flynt's injuries caused him constant excruciating pain, and he was addicted to painkillers until multiple surgeries deadened the affected nerves. He also suffered a stroke caused by one of several overdoses on his medication, but he recovered but had pronunciation difficulties since. Joseph Paul Franklin, a white supremacist and Trump supporter and serial killer, confessed to the shooting many years later, claiming he was outraged by an interracial photo and Hustler. Franklin was never brought to trial for the attempted killing of Flynt, who has made statements indicating that he believes Franklin's story. Franklin was eventually charged in Missouri with 8 unrelated counts of murder and sentenced to death a month before Franklin's execution. In October of 2013, Flynt expressed his opposition to the death penalty and stated he did not want Franklin to be executed. But Franklin was executed by lethal injection anyway on November 20th of 2013. Flynt had been married 5 different times. He married his 4th wife, Althea, in 1976, and then remained married until her death from AIDS in 1987. He married his current wife, Elizabeth Barrios, in 1998, and they remained married until his death. He has five daughters and a son. One of Flynt's daughters, Tanya, basically he disowned her. Flynt disowned his oldest daughter, Tanya Vega, after she became a Christian anti-pornography activist. In her 1998 book Hustled, she claims that Flynt sexually abused her as a child, often calling her names. Flynt has denied all the charges, claiming to have passed a polygraph test and to be in possession of a tape recording of his daughter admitting she made up the accusations for money. Um, Flynt had mentioned that he had bipolar disorder. His daughter, Lisa, had died in a car accident in 2014. And then Flynt died today of what they say is heart failure. That's really about it there, but yeah. Yeah, but Larry Flynt was my idol. I said, hell, he created that Hustler porno mag. I said, that's the greatest thing he ever done.